This is more about living in the time of the coronavirus epidemic. The dummy craps boast about following the science, as if science was the singular truth. I appreciate science, the penetrating intersection of man and nature, and when I consider it, I think of hypothesis, experiment, and research. Those are wonderful things, and some people are brilliant at them, but they are not the truth. The Senate passed the American Rescue Act, 51 to 50, with Shamala Scaris casting the deciding vote. It now goes to the House for confirmation. Remember Ms. Sincerity, the butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, health commissioner for the field mouse? She's going to run for the Senate in my state. The election is 2 years off. She's going to run as a dummy crap. I'm going to call her Sweet Talk if she pops up again. And she will be. We'll be hearing from her. And she will be ultra sincere, not just on health, but with every issue. Right now, the Super Bowl is getting a lot of attention for a wide range of reasons. The day after the game, the impeachment hearings are scheduled to begin. The media will whip that up. The dummy craps will do everything in their newly minted power to at least smear the trumpet and possibly defeat him. As Fancy Bulldozy would say, a girl can dream. The PM is still taking pot shots at his predecessor. In a TV interview, he opined that the trumpet should not receive any intelligence information because of his pronounced tendency for erratic behavior. Meanwhile, the flow of immigrants into the country on the southern border has increased, and it's catch and release now instead of sending them back. They're supposed to be tested at the border for COVID-19, but there aren't enough tests available there to do that. And there are still 7,000 National Guard troops in the Capitol. They will be there until the end of March. That's the plan. Why? The dummy craps fear another insurrection. They want to be prepared, protected. So, the border is wide open and the Capitol is on lockdown. And the PM says the people desperately need their money. There isn't time for any bipartisan debate on it. Let's see some unity. It seems to me that the dummy craps are often afraid. They are afraid to tell protesters to go home or go to jail. They are afraid to restrict immigration. They are afraid of police. They are afraid to return to in-person schooling. They are afraid of global warming. They are afraid of angry trumpet followers. They fear that people cannot compete in the financial world without help from the government. They are also afraid of white male supremacy. And they are afraid for their children. Back to the Super Bowl. Usually it's the game and the ads, the crazy wagers, maybe a tiny buzz on the halftime show. This year there is also the element of social protest, and that's divided between those who are for it and those who consider it just and noble, and those who are opposed, saying that a football game should not be used as a forum for black liberation and defunding the cops. The activists come back and say, Look at the audience. It's the perfect forum. Then the athletes join the protests and people say, "You're earning $30 million a year. What do you know about injustice or poverty?" The athlete replies, "I'm using my voice to amplify the message." I watched a video of two guys visiting the bus Chris McCandless lived in for 112 days before he died from eating poison berries. This bus is in a very remote spot in Alaska, hard to get to. The two helicoptered in. The bus is now a shrine, McCandless an iconic figure. People are inspired by the story, made into a best-selling book, Into the Wild, and a movie directed by Sean Penn. I haven't read the book, and I'm not inspired by the story. There is much to admire in it, I agree, but there is also much foolishness, enough to cost him his life. Look at the cost of a man not knowing his limitations. His adventure was suicidal because of his lack of preparation. Also, one of the last things he wrote was, "Happiness is only real when it is shared." That only makes his situation more pathetic. In boxing, the fights, the final instruction is, protect yourself at all times. That is also something to live by, not so wild and free, but absolutely necessary and non-negotiable under penalty of death.